Welcome to today's ADB Green Roads webinar on bioengineering for green roads. I am Iris Bombay from the Office of Safeguards in ADB, and I will be your host today. I support mainly transport sector projects, so this is a topic I'm personally interested and invested in. But before we go on to our presentation, a few things first. Our next webinar is on the 13th March and addresses the very first pilot application of the ADB Green Road Toolkit from a project in Tajikistan. So I hope you stay tuned for that. And earlier, you've seen the webinar um, house rules. Um, so now I have the pleasure of introducing this session on bioengineering for green roads. Bioengineering or nature-based solutions comprise a wide range of solutions that can provide substantial improvements to the resilience of the transport system and often are far lower cost than traditional hard engineering solutions. Bioengineering can also often be undertaken with local resources, providing opportunities for inclusive work for local communities. And while some countries, such as Nepal, have a long history of bioengineering practice, for many countries, this is an emerging science. Our speaker today is Kalyan Tapa, who's staying up late in Vancouver for us. With over 25 years of bioengineering experience in ecological restoration and sustainable infrastructure solutions, Kalyan is well qualified to speak to us today on this topic. And as the environment and grants manager at Trinity Western University in Langley, British Columbia, Kalyan specializes in bioengineering techniques for climate resilience, water management, um, and land rehabilitation. His career began in 1989, pioneering plant-based slope stabilization methods in Nepal's Dharan Dankuta Road. Since then, Kalyan has led impactful projects globally, including in Bangladesh, Uganda, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Vietnam, Timor-Leste, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, working with organizations such as the ADB, World Bank, Swiss Development Cooperation, and the British Columbia Infrastructure Plan. Currently pursuing a master's in resource and environment management, Kalyan is committed to advancing cost-effective, environmentally sustainable solutions for infrastructure development with a focus on bioengineering's potential to enhance climate resilience and improve water management. Kalyan has authored numerous guidelines on landslide management, erosion, and bioengineering solutions. So, as is normal practice, please submit your questions via the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we will get to those at the end of the session. So, with that, I pass the floor over to Kalyan.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria Aris. Thanks for this long introductions. I'm going to share my slide first, and then we'll talk about it. Slides. Yes, welcome everyone. Today we will explore how bioengineering can transport infrastructure in emerging economics by integrating natural solutions like plant and soil. Bioengineering improves climate resilience, water management, and ecosystems. Techniques like vegetative slopes and permeable pavements create more sustainable roads that better withstand extreme weather and encourage healthier environment. So we are going through the different slides, and there are around 26, 27 slides. Please have us with patience. Let's start the session. So my first slide is overview and key themes, how bioengineering enhance climate resilience, water management, and biodiversity. My overall these sessions focus on these four topics, like that. These are the 4 points: climate resilience, water land management, and biodiversity, and practical solutions And climate resilience, bioengineering helps roads endure extreme weather like flooding or drought with solutions like vegetative slopes and soil bioengineering. In the water management, by using permeable surface and biosoils and different bioengineering measures, runoff and reduce flooding while benefiting ecosystems. Bio, biodiversity, integrating vegetation along roadside slopes or roadside corridor, store habitats and supports local wildlife, promoting a richer biodiversity. And practical solutions, you can see on my side on the right here, this is the liner slopes on the roadsides, which is been protected using different techniques. Like on the slopes here is like a gully erosion's been protected by using stone pitchings and the check dams, and on the roadside there's a retaining wall structures and different kind of like a vegetation approach are here on the slopes for the practical solutions. So these are the key themes of our sessions today. Here, I tried to touch this advancing UN Sustainable Development Growth through bioengineering in road infrastructures. It is quite fortunate to have bioengineering in transport sectors been focused by UN Sustainable Goals by 2030. The slide I have taken from the Mr. Slobodan. He has written wonderful articles on the report's sustainability 2021. I highly encourage to get these articles where he has focused bioengineering, how bioengineering can emerge in the every sectors in the infrastructure sector for the climate resilience purpose. So there are like a 4, 5 UN sustainable goals, and UN sustainable goal 13 climate actions help reduce carbon footprints and improve climate resilience. And life of land, SDG 15, it's support biodiversity by restoring habitats along roads. And clean water is the biggest issue. And with the bioengineering, it improves water management and reduce runoff. This pretty much tie into the work of experts like Mr. Slobodan, who discussing bioengineering roles in climate resilience infrastructure. So please look into his article too, and uh, he published that article in 2021, which is currently focused on the bioengineering in UN Sustainable Development Goals. So my fourth slide is about climate risks in green road infrastructures. Here we see the different picture of the road face from climate change and the risks in the roads, including flooding, gully erosion, and landslides. These risks damage infrastructure and disrupt travel. Bioengineering techniques, while implementing bioengineering techniques like stabilizing slopes and managing water flow, can help mitigate these challenges and make road more resilient to climate impacts. So these are the generally not only the green roads, but any transport sector you will see due to the climate resilience, climate change. These are the areas, big gullies, landslides on the roads, even in the communities, habitations areas, big landslides goes because this can be caused by the natural or man-made both side. But due to the climate change effect, these are the main areas we are facing in the climate risks in green road infrastructures. So on my fifth slide here, on this slide, we examine how erosion impact green roads and how bioengineering can address this issue. The images showcase techniques like planting native vegetations, using erosion control measure, and implementing natural retaining walls. These solutions prevent soil erosion and improve road resilience. I think it is very essential for professionals to understand local conditions, soil, vegetations, and weather patterns. When planning bioengineering solutions, engaging local communities ensure the solutions are sustainable, effective, and culturally appropriate. So you can see on this my photo on the left, some of the slopes are the land use management needed and different kind of techniques. And the right on the photos here is like a Gavin's walls or retaining wall needed, debris removal needed. So what I'm trying to insist here is like any of the experts working on the road for the bioengineering in the road sector, basically in the green road, have to able to assess this in very details. So these are the effective measure for erosion control and slope management. If you have like a detailed assessments on the roadside slopes. So on the this slide, I'm going slowly merging to the bioengineering for slope stabilization and erosion control. Sustainable solutions for resilient future. What is bioengineering? Why bioengineering matter? Global application for bioengineering and proven techniques for success. Bioengineering is a very powerful method for slope stabilization and erosion control. By using natural materials like plants and grasses, it addresses erosion and slope instability in eco-friendly way. This approach not only stabilizes slopes, but also enhances ecosystems, restorations, creating a harmonious relationship between infrastructures and nature. Bioengineering is proven very effective worldwide, and the practices is started from the very east, where I started from the very beginning from Nepal, and slowly it's come to different Southeast Asia and Pacific regions, and more like now in Northern uh, America also it's been starting. So there's a very very cost effective techniques, like you can see on the pictures, like some of the techniques we are using is very much nature based and it's carbon zero effect. So that is bioengineering does on the roadside slopes. So it's a globally practice, and there's a standard developed. It's very much used worldwide so far. Okay. Then after we have to understand benefit of bioengineering, why bioengineering, why we need to address the bioengineering. What is the effect? So I'm trying to show here like environmental, economic, and social benefit. Environment, it restores habitats, improve biodiversity, and reduce erosion, making ecosystems more resilient to extreme weather. Economic, it is a great cost-effective alternative using locally sourced materials and reducing maintenance and repair costs over time. Social, bioengineering fosters community engagement, improve local knowledge, and creating safer, greener environment that enhance the quality of people life. In short, bioengineering not only supports sustainable infrastructures, but also contribute to environmental protection, economic growth, and community well-being. So there are these all the three sectors. If you know if you work in a very micro way, micro levels, you will get all these three benefits implementing the bioengineering in any of the infrastructures, not regardless of the green roads. Any of the infrastructure project can have benefits of all of these three while implementing the bioengineering techniques. So this is the effective bioengineering practice. I'm very much fond of this slide, though this slide's so very old, and I'm very nostalgic also, because this is all I've taken from the Nepal, where I started my career as a bioengineering, and I work with the very reputed bioengineering consultant like John Howell and Dr. Jan Clark, Dr. Krip Lawrence in Nepal. These are the pioneers of the bioengineering. We started bioengineering in Nepal. You used to say not a bioengineering, not a nature base. You simply used to say soil conservation while we starting bioengineering in Nepal in 1986. And they used ahead of time. And this on the slide you can see in the picture one. There's lots of like a practice of the cotton, throw cotton field practices, and which is create lots of problems during the time. It's haphazardly practicing of the soil dumping causes lots of problems. Not only the erosion, but it's also damages lots of natural heritage, natural resources there. So, but there was a practice also how we could protect that. Like you can see, like on the photo two here, the gully is be strengthened using the beautifully created by check dams, small check dams. These small check dams were very much useful for the strengthening the gullies. And then fourth, and the third picture here, you see like a stone pitching on the small gully. If you see on the top here, there's a road section, and but on the bottom is the valley slopes. There's lots of gully erosion and all, but this was protected by the stone pitching and with the grass planting along. And the fourth picture is nursery establishment using all the natural local resources, local manpower, local materials, and then local plants, local pioneer plants. Then it's all the like establishment for all the production from the nurseries goes into the roadside planting, and it's planting like a grass, whatever are on the slopes. And what I'm trying to take away from here is like a uh, this is early stage of nature-based solutions. Now the nature-based solutions is very much in the practice, but that used to be at those days. And that is all local resources and indigenous knowledge. It was like a not very scientific also, but that was like a try to bring into the scientific. There was no literature being published at the time when I was working in Nepal, and the flashback is like it was so zero carbon footprint because nothing was exported there. Everything was naturally available, but we just taking the knowledge from the indigenous people working there, how they could stabilize their terraces, land. So you use into their practice to the roadside production. Basically, we started from the Dharandan Kuta road projects. If you're familiar in the Nepal in the eastern part, that there where the bioengineering was first started. So these are the effective bioengineering practices. It doesn't mean like that has been uh, not been carried over, but it has been carried over. But this was the practice at the time during while I was in Nepal working there since 1986 to 2002. Okay, so this slide shows the bioengineering process on road site slopes management. So here we present a bioengineering process for roadside slopes management, focusing on landslide prevention and cost-effective solutions. The landslide slope management and low-cost bioengineering needs both area. Bioengineering for the roadside slope and community extension program. Why I've been insisting community extension program here is because most of our roads nowadays, it's either it crosses through the community lanes, or even you build the road on isolated land, the community is inhabited in that newly built roads. So that we should be working conjunction with the local community for the successful bioengineering implementations in any of the road sectors. So that's where like I'm showing here like what are the process, like how we can train, how we can train to do the proper bioengineering, like a community workshop bioengineering technique, and we need to know the how to assessment bioengineering site, and then implementation bioengineering techniques, proper selection of techniques, erosion control focuses, and our focuses should be on the erosion control, and but for the privilege of communities living around the land. So these are the process we generally developed now to work in any of the green road infrastructures, regardless if there is community or not community oriented, but this should be a process while working on the bioengineering. Uh, Next few slides, I also focus on the case studies and best practice of bioengineering around the world. So this slide is from Nepal, combating landsliding with bioengineering. So what were the challenges and what were the solutions, what the outcome? This is only the one slide showing the roadside slopes erosion was there. The challenges were always been whenever we cut slopes and we leave bare surface, and then where the slope started erosion, regardless it's small or larger. And then what happened? There is always like a big landslides, or even there is no landslide. Even you cut the slope in the certain angle, it is still get the surface erosion and it start to getting the block your beautifully constructed drain, and that lead the another problem. So while you're implementing, if you focus that challenges or to prevent those challenges, just simple grass planting like this here, or brush layers, as different other techniques, implementing that can resolve the problem. So what would be the outcome? The outcome would be successful, green slopes without any signs of erosions, and it can be useful for the local community, and the local communities can get benefit out of it, and it will be a more long-term sustainability. But what we do there, very simple bioengineering techniques, like simple rows of grass plantings, brush layers, helps a lot. But we need to know how to implement it, right? This is the one of the site in Nepal. And here, this case study 2 is a project in Laos. They also implemented slowly the bioengineering of the slopes. See on the side here, the same challenges like a frequent landslide and severe soil erosion and mountains regions. Always is a problem. The mountain and slopes is very fragile, very unstable, very young geology. So severe erosion problems. And that what happened, that impact the livelihoods of the local peoples. So solutions like simple plantings, just focusing the bioengineering or vegetation techniques on the slopes, the roads become very healthy. It looks very, you know, environmental friendly also. And it looks wonderful. If you see the slope, the picture at the down, see the beautifully constructed retaining walls and the slopes is vegetated, green. And if you drive on this kind of roads and you won't see any signs of like a soils accumulating, debris accumulating on the drainages. So that is the successfully reduced erosion by 50% and improved slope stabilities and enhance community resilience. And what we'll get, community will be very happy, and the maintenance cost for the road itself, not on the slopes, but the roads itself will be very less, because there will be no, if there is no drainage, no soils on the drainage, drain cleaning cost gonna be reduced. But imagine if you don't have anything done on the slopes, there gonna be a huge problem. Either it's gonna be create the big landslide, or it's continuous erosions gonna bury all the roads or the drainage. Okay, so that are the outcomes by implementing or practicing bioengineering. There's not always the good practices also. Some of the things they try. This is the one slide from the Bangladesh. They started challenges was the slopes erosion, and the practices were done this kind of like a sandbags feelings, and you often see those kind of practices doing either like a covering the slopes by the tarpon seats or sandbags or huge riprap techniques. Are these techniques always good? Uh, as a experts working in the bioengineering, I would say no, because this is very temporary measures, because you always get the problems, because underneath there's always erosion. So this is not very permanent practices. So we suggest to put more vegetative. There are some other vegetative measures which gonna be sustainable, long-term, and more effective. Because when you put under the backs here, it's maybe like a 1 year or 2 years. After that, it's gonna be deteriorate and the whole slope's gonna move again. So the situation will be same. So if you put the more bioengineering measures like vegetation stabilizations, live drains, brush layers, it all depends with the site. That's why I was talking in my first slide to assessment. What are the techniques needed? What are the problems? So if you properly assess the sites, then we can fix those with the green techniques, green bioengineering techniques, which will be very ecological benefits too. And what would be the expected outcomes? It will be long-term slope stability, reduce maintenance cost, improve biodiversity, and more community engagement, and more learning for the peoples and for the experts and for the individual involved in the projects. So there's not always like bioengineering been addressed successfully in all areas. Some areas they're just starting, and we need to more focus on the practicing proper bioengineering and like these sections. This is just an example of one of the example in Bangladesh. But there are many other areas too need to focus on the bioengineering, and that is the objective of our sessions of today as well. So this is the one slide in DPR Korea. Visually we say North Korea. I was the one fortunate to be there and to do the work with the SDC, Swiss Development Corporations, from 2015 to 2020. During the time, there was like one of the very serious problems of the soil erosions in North Korea. And that's not for the structurals, but only I see the problems for the food, because they had to use all their lands to grow the crops. Without using their land, they don't get food. So over time, using the lands, there was so much erosions. And then STC come forward to mitigate that erosion problem using different expertise, agroforestry, foresters, and I was the one working on the bioengineering, how we can reduce. It has a huge gullies erosions problems using the lens too much. So I was able to do pure nature-based solutions using only the plants and vegetation, because there was nothing we can get there. No way to get any kind of like engineering materials there in North Korea. So I had to rely on the totally nature-based solutions, training them how to use all the effective engineering bioengineering measures, different structural techniques. So this was the turnout. You can see on the photo on the first and the left here is the denuded surfaces. It was completely vegetated and covered with the trees, and then all the gullies was covered with the vegetation. And then it turned out to, it's just not to sow, but it turned out to, again, doing the crops. People started doing farming, and they get the returns and they get the values again while doing the proper bioengineering and others vegetation measures. So this is the one slide for the huge area. It's not only the 1-2 hectares, it's the thousands of hectares working on the disturbed land, implementing the nature-based solutions. You can say the bioengineering too. And this is again North Korea, same slide. The people were working on the slopes, the terraces. So we build you see like local people working to make the slopes here. And then after we just did the terraces here, and they still can plant in this area, because every little bit lens was very important there, very valuable, not only important, very valuable for the crops, because they have to grow the food there to eat for their family. So that every lens was very useful. So, and any bioengineering you do, we're kind of doing like agroforestry systems. So like this is the brush layering techniques, but in between they would plant corns and some other, you know, for the agriculture practices. So that was the challenges. Face food insecurity and land degradation due to severe erosion and sloping land. Solutions, we did bioengineering, sloping land user groups, we from the many user groups there, and then disaster risk capacities, develop training, lots of training, seminars, study tours, and developing guidelines, handbooks. So within my time over there, like we developed the guidelines, how to work on the slopes, erosions problems, develop the guidelines for the guidelines and handbooks for the local people. So one of the very successful projects while working with the local community and using the natural solutions. One of the successful projects where I ever involved during my career. And I'm very satisfied working there with the communities in terms of erosion control. Yes, I'm now a little bit want to go towards the North America and in the Canada. This slide is the mining area. This is the one of the slides in the Caminco mining sector. This is the in the northern America in Vancouver, just a little bit 8 hours drive from Vancouver, and the practices was before as usual, like they used to dump the lots of like open pit, open mining towards the river. You can see the river here, and there's a huge problems of the soil erosion here, the dumping, and it is very toxic materials here. So it was very challenging to resolve this kind of problems. It's not only the erosion problem, but there's a river here, and that was like a falling towards the US, and that company got the huge fine because the water was leaching by the toxic materials, and the challenge was how to restore that slopes where there is a very toxic materials. And I was also one of the fortunate person to involve in utilizing the different plants materials. So fortunately, there are some of the species which grow on the very toxic materials. Like there is a willow and a cottonwood species. If you don't hear, there is a very popular here in North America. So use these materials to uh, for the any toxic materials, because the roots, they extract the toxic materials and evaporate through the uh, environment through the plant systems. So you use lots of techniques here. This is also the 2007 to 2015, the practices and all this. Now this area is become very green, and there's no problem for the any erosions. Not only the erosions, but it also the um, very aesthetically very good looking and environment friendly. Local communities are very happy looking at the green sector, and then there's no any soil leaching down there and no contaminations problems there. So it's good for the wildlife, fish habitations and all. So these are the practices also been using in the mining sector. Basic use of the bioengineering. It's not the only basic, but it was very intensive use of bioengineering. We use the different varieties of bioengineering techniques with the very limited plant species, because you didn't have like a tons of other species to use on the slopes. Only 2-3 species. Within the 2-3 species, we were able to stabilize this site, and this is one of the successful projects using the bioengineering techniques for the mining land stabilizations. Okay, this is also one of the slides for the, this slide shows the very traditional practice of wall construction. You see, this is the log wall. They used to do that, but somehow over the time, these log walls get failed. Either it decompose or it rusted. If it's very wet, it doesn't stay that long. Even you have like a treated log wall. It has a lifespan for the 10, 12 years, but after that it's gonna start deteriorating. So what we did is we just displaced these walls and started vegetative wall. So we put the vegetative wattles. This is one of the slides in Canada, where the this is the private landowner place, like where they had a huge problem of this wall was completely failing and that the whole slope was moving. So we had to replace this, and the putting the like a structural wall was very expensive, very high cost, because there's lots of like geotechnical studies and geotechnical involvement all did needed. So the landowner wanted to do the low cost techniques. So we suggested them a very friendly, low cost and sustainable techniques, which was like a bioengineering wattle fence. So you use the wattle fence, and within the 2 to 3 years, that turns out in the very green, very stables, and very simple techniques. But if you do, it looks very simple. But if you do very technically and with the some knowledge of the slopes conditions and slope failure, we can get the success of any of the bigger slopes as well. So this is the very good example of bioengineering use of wattle fence on the embankment failure, and which can replace the any returning structures. But sometimes it's not be useful to the doing the heavy traffic area. If you use in the highways and all, it may not be. It may take some time. It depends on the site conditions so far. So, but what I'm trying to show here is the wattle fence and simple bioengineering techniques also helps long-term solutions, and it can be a good low-cost techniques. It saves lots of money. Okay, this is the project in 2018, and then within a 2 years time, it was very success. This is the first, second, and third, and now it's covered very well now. So this is the slopes, again, the big slopes, and we use like this wattle fencing, small fencing, and we had like a mudslide problem, lots of seepage water, and you use lots of like a light pole drains and wattle fence and all. Within like a 2 3 years time, this is also uh, covered with the very green slope stabilizations. It's all covered now. It's protected and erosion is stabilized. But it all depends with the what kind of materials you have. Like it also depends with the plants. You need to have like a plants selections, uh, natural and good growth, good cuttings. If you get the good plants, it can stabilize the slopes all. But this is mostly doing the biotechnical structures like a wattle fence, light pole drains, planting cuttings. These all big slopes stabilize. Uh, Mostly the outcome was site rehabilitated in 1 year, reduced seepage erosions, mud flows, stable slopes within thriving vegetations. And the practice of the bioengineering, one is the very best techniques for the riverbank protections in aspect of fish habitations it's called the vegetation riprap. So if you see any of the river, any of the culvert abutment fail, bridge abutment fail, like it can be fixed with the simple vegetative techniques. The vegetative techniques is like using the rocks and different sizes of rocks and the planting cuttings in between the rocks, which can grow. There is a certain way to do it, but it's a very simple process, which can be sometimes we can use the machine, sometimes we can do the manually also. So it can be fixed with the small to large scales, uh, large scales of failures, embankment failures. Like in Europe, they have been using a lot. They have been demoralizing all the concrete structures and putting the vegetation riprap on the big river side. Before they used to do all the cement structures. Now for the looking the environment friendly and green aspect, they've been using the this vegetation riprap. The vegetation riprap is one of the best solutions for the fish habitations. The fish loves it. When the in the third picture here, when the plants grow, the fish comes and then it's hatch. It's good for the habitat for the fish. So this is the very simple techniques we can use as a vegetation repair techniques as part of the bioengineering programs. So yeah, those are the few slides on the case studies on the bioengineering. But now I want to go more about empowering youth and communities, how we can participate in the communities and the bioengineering, what is the advantage. This slide emphasizes the importance of youth involvement in community engagement in bioengineering. Youth can develop skills through hands-on training, spreading awareness, and bringing innovative ideas to sustainability efforts. Community engagement is always valuable because it ensures long-term success of projects, encourage ownership and responsibilities, empowering youth and engaging communities create lasting support, and it also become a career opportunities for the youth in sustainable development. So you can see, I see like aspect, action, and benefit, engaging locals, stakeholder, and sustainable bioengineering, ecological restoration, youth involvement in the hands-on trainings, skill development, innovative solutions for them. Community engagement is participating in planting and maintenance, trend for long-term monitoring, call to actions. It's always better to engage with the youth and local community to foster community collaborations. What would be the benefit? It's gonna be a sustainable practices. If you do and isolate it, many of the projects nowadays always collaborate with the local communities or the clubs, the local clubs, and the communities wherever the local youth involvement, which is a very good practices. So these are the stakeholder sustainable bioengineering ecological practices for the involving youths and the local communities. It has a huge benefit. So key stakeholders and their roles. Why we need the key stakeholders? Who should do what? Because stakeholders are very important to implement in the bioengineering and any of the project. And in different stages, planning and assessment, implementation, monitoring, and maintenance. They are like their action is like for the planning and assessment, the conduct site assessment, design, solution, and implementation contractor, technician community. And importantly for the executing the bioengineering techniques, plant selection, nursery site identifications, and for the monitoring at maintenance, environmental agency, communities. So key stakeholder and their role, the stakeholders is government agencies, engineering, ecologists, roadside communities, NGOs, environmental groups, contractors. They all individuals have a different roles, but if you categorize these stakeholders for different areas of work in the bioengineering, what would happen? Because everyone would get the responsibilities, everyone understand that what's going on, they share responsibility. So ultimate goal would be a success of the bioengineering because everyone involved in different areas. So this kind of like a plannings, this kind of like a process, who should do what are the key stakeholders, and what their roles gonna be. If you put together with a good framework, categorizing these responsibilities, it's gonna be a successful programs, regardless of bioengineering in any of the area. So, and my next slide, there's always challenges in the roadside bioengineering. And there are solutions too. But most of the challenges, what we found is lack of awareness and knowledge. Even the bioengineering started from the very long time ago, but still there is some issues of the awareness and knowledges. So for that, we need to conduct lots of training program, workshops, stakeholder meetings, study tour. That helps. That's part of the awareness and knowledge. It's also the practical side. And another is limited funding compared to any of the bigger structures. The bioengineering, which is the low cost, but it's still the funding, if you see, very less. So there should be awareness on how we can foster public and private partnership to seek the grants. And even you have a knowledge, if you have a funding, there is a lack of maintenance. Whatever the bioengineering we don't have a proper maintenance practices similar to the engineering structural programs. So we need to have a long-term maintenance plan also. And the weather-dependent planting, that what most of the bioengineering program is weather-dependent. And so we have to use the plants resources as per the climate resilient species. And stakeholder coordinations, important, site accessibilities, plant survival rate, soil instability, community engagement, long-term sustainability. So these are the challenges. And there are more other challenges, but these are the fundamentals ones. So there are the solutions also. So if you see this properly, and if you see the challenges and you have like a proper solutions on that, and if you do the micro studies on this area, ultimate goal is successful bioengineering by overcoming the challenges and challenges. And there will be always solutions for this. But most of the time we have not been looking very, in details on these challenges and solutions. So if you look into these areas, it helps. And that's objective of this slide too. So now we're gonna go to some of the plants, climate adaptive plants and materials. Whatever the programs, plans, whatever challenges you have, and if you get all the fundings, if you have a good programs in place, but plants is the main part to successful bioengineering program. And nowadays, the climate, because of the climate change, we have to be very careful to selecting the climate adapted plants and materials. Choosing the right plants is a key to the success of bioengineering project. Climate adapted species such as grass, small shrubs, and bamboos help stabilize soils and reduce erosion. And the best idea is any of the projects, local communities, the best resources to selecting the bioengineering plants species because they have a better knowledge. But we need to know, as experts, anyone involved need to know what kind of species is better on the slopes. What kind of species, because our potentials is to erosion control. So you have to find the erosion control species which has a bigger, vigorous root systems, so those kind of species you have to select. And the plant selection is one of the better criteria. And here are a few examples. These are the grassy species. Grass is the one of the many species in the bioengineering because it's control the surface erosions. So to control the surface erosion, you find the grasses is the main one. And there are varieties of grassy species, but you have to see which species has a good, habits, good root systems, and what kind of root systems. Is the shallow or is it deeper roots? So plants, grass selections is important. And second is the trees or small shrubs. You can see there are the small size of trees is always good on the slopes. So we have to find what kind of true root systems are there. So that's also, and what are the canopies provide? Is there what kind of leaf are there? So it has to be a very details of site plant selections. In fact, it's always better to involve the biologist or tree experts, plant experts, plant ecologist, assessing the slopes. But unfortunately, sometimes like a bioengineering expert itself have to work in all areas. So any of the experts working in the bioengineering should have certain knowledge or broad knowledge of the bioengineering plant species, selecting the bioengineering plant species. As I said, having local community knowledge always beneficial to select the plant species. So there are varieties, many species, but the three are the categories. One is the grasses, second is the trees and shrubs. I prefer shrubs rather than trees because when the trees are bigger, it is still itself have a problem of instabilities on the slopes. So small shrubs are always better. And Southeast Asia, the bamboo is the best species. It has a commercial values. Local people use for the different purposes, even for the food, even for the firewood, even the building the structures, or the building the different ornamentals. And it is one of the best species for any sort of erosion control. If you know, if you know where you are putting those plants. So those are the three species I find more. And beside of that, there are many other cuttings species, live cuttings, which you can use on the bioengineering.
Okay,
So let
Kalyan,
me,
we will
yes,
need
sir.
to go a little bit faster in your last few slides so that we have time to answer some
Okay,
of the
okay.
questions that we've
Thank you,
already
thank you. I'll
received.
go. This is the
Okay.
training only. I'm almost done, I guess. Like a bioengineering training courses also important. So, even if you have like a hand-on trainings, if you have like a uh, beginner trainings programs for the any supervisors, engineers, it's always beneficial. Before you start any projects, most of the time, like the projects are failed because not having the proper knowledge on the training. So training is always important. So, and the supervisors level, overseer engineers level, theory and practices training we can do in the different level. And there is always there's ready available training materials as well for the bioengineering. So bioengineering nursery establishment, one of the best sources of the plants is the nursery, where we can get the healthy quality plants, and every bioengineering programs need the bioengineering nurseries. So it's always good to have nurseries and the roadsides programs, where we can produce grasses, whatever kind of species we need, we can produce in our nursery. If you have our own nursery facility, and the bioengineering nursery is kind of like a stock production area for that facilitate the bioengineering plants for the sites. And bioengineering reference material, there are various different kind of bioengineering materials are available in the market, online also. But I would, if you're working in the green roads and any of the roads, I would prefer this roadside bioengineering to one of the very best manuals ever published. I was part of the team to prepare these manuals, and this is like a reference and site handbook. You can get online also. These are the two, and others are like a community-based bioengineering for roadside. And this is one of more details. Robin and Sotir provided soil bioengineering, and the bioengineering technologies for field practitioners. This is the one I prepared myself based on the practice in North Korea. And then there's a bioengineering for green infrastructures. Yeah, so that's all about it for my slides. I think like I go faster, I go slow, but my last slide says that small action, big impact. See, the planting the small slips of the grasses pave the way of sustainable slope stabilization. Anyway, thank you. Over to Iris.
Okay, thank you, Kalyan, for that presentation. And we have a lot of questions, quite a bit of questions from our participants, 102 of them this afternoon. So we will go rapid fire because we went
Okay,
a little
sure,
bit
sure.
over time on
And
the presentation. There's a question from Kiran Goda. He's asking how can bioengineering measures be successful in urban roads in mountain areas, which has limited land availability and right of way?
Uh, the the main thing is like if there is a limited land availability in the right of way, that community engagement, working with the community,
Mhm.
that
So
is
you mean
only
to
the
say
alternative sources.
um, planting in private land so that they don't actually have to
No, if
turn
you
over
have
their land
because we
to
have a limited
farmers?
land right of way because there is a community inhabited around, so that's where like it's always even in the right of way land also community engagement for the plantings, any kind of private planting or for the protection and all. So you need to have a community engagement there. That's only the successful way of to doing it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
just do the planting yourself and if you leave it and then you won't get the
Mm-hmm.
success. So I would say the community engagement.
Okay, your emphasis actually is heavy on the community engagement, no? So
Yes.
on a little bit related to that, Kiran Goda also asked if you could share some insights on maintenance of bioengineering measures. You mentioned that engaging with the community actually enhances, or
Mhm.
yeah, the monitoring and maintenance, they get involved in that. So any particular thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's the maintenance is like when you start the planting, when the plants are grow bigger, like you have to open for the local community for the maintenance, like taking out the some of the branches or like opening for the cutting the grasses, and because when it's grow bigger, right, we can do maintenance like a pollarding, coppicing, those sort of techniques we can do. There is a separate manual for the vegetation maintenance for
Mm-hmm.
the bioengineering program. So it's already been studied and it's been practiced. So we have like a guidelines for that too.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the community that because everywhere now there is community, right? A community engagement for the
Mm-hmm.
using the resources is also for them to engage in the planting, management, and maintenance and reuse in all this area. If you engage the community, that helps for the maintenance purpose as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. And so we're really going rapid fire. There are
Yes, yes,
two
sure.
related questions that I'll lump together.
Mhm.
So one is from Rory Kagimbal. He's asking, how are you able to encourage your implementing agencies or your clients to incorporate NBS into their designs? And did you do like some cost analysis versus traditional gray infra and bioengineering measures? Because Joanne is asking, what is the average cost per kilometer of bioengineering measures for landslide, the one with retaining walls, if an estimate is available?
It 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 depends on the size of the slides, the landslide, side of the erosion problems. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, like overall like cost, overall like cost of the project, we generally allocate like a 10% or 15% for the bioengineering. But
Mm-hmm.
again, depends on the size of the problems, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the erosion. But 10 to 15% is reasonable.
Mm-hmm. So the cost is usually one of the points to encourage implementing agencies to adopt bioengineering solutions.
I think like there's no like particularly in the cost wise, but just to need lots of awareness, training
Mm-hmm.
programs, and then just like this kind of like seminars and all helps like engaging, like stakeholders or the funding agency to encourage them to involving in this kind of trainings also helps. And it
Okay.
needs lots of work. I know, I understand that this is a very good question. It's very hard to, make them to engage
Mm-hmm.
in the bioengineering, implementing or introducing the bioengineering is very hard. But I would suggest to do in the very small scales so that you'll see the benefits
Mm-hmm.
of it. And then after it, slowly, it's gonna improve. If you do in the bigger scales, it might be a risk also.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's always get risks also. And bioengineering always get blamed because once you do in the large scales without having trainings and then some kind of like experience, and it
Mm-hmm.
to get failed. And then when it's failed, and people always get like, oh, bioengineering doesn't get successful techniques. It
Mm-hmm.
won't success. So that I would suggest to do the small scales.
Okay, that's a
Right.
good point. I'm starting small so that you have kind of a pilot to encourage them in terms of
Right.
success. So one, Peter Mitchell has a few questions, but one I think you've worked in DPR Korea, which is a rare area to be working in, and his
I know.
question is, some locations on Earth are naturally bare, often due to combination of climate, topography, and geology. Do you recommend pursuit of bioengineering where conditions are simply not naturally conducive or sustainable? And what would you recommend in such situations?
I think that naturally, if I understand correctly, her questions, like if you live naturally,
Mm.
it might work, but it takes time, and you never know, like it's gonna be a success or it's gonna fail. Again,
No,
the pro
I think its question is for naturally bare areas like deserts or just areas with naturally low vegetation. Do
So
you
the
think
main thing is like a protection.
staying
Protection is we can sometimes you do if there is no any sign of erosion, anything like you just can protect, and it's natural colonizations is always better, though it
mm,
takes time, right?
mm,
So the protections always get success. Is there
mm,
is no any interfere of the animals, peoples, and all. Like if you can protect for the certain years, the vegetation recolonize itself on the
mm.
area,
But
which
in
is part.
areas that are naturally bare, meaning it's not colonized by vegetation naturally, just because of
But
the host of factors, natural factors occurring in the area.
if you don't have any funding, if you don't have any program, like the best way to just to live like that, because the natural vegetation gonna come anyway, right? But the best way is to start planting and then live that area. But there is also the natural colonization also happens, but it takes time, even the
Mm,
natural bare area
mm. Okay, so in those areas, maybe some other alternatives can be explored.
can be done.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So there are two related questions also on sourcing and selecting vegetation. You had a slide on that, but if you would like to expound on what sources of information do you use in selecting vegetation, and how did you source that in the case of DPR Korea?
Uh, DPR Korea is a different, like they have like a thousands of hectares, like nurseries they developed,
Mm-hmm.
and they are one of the best one to propagating the different species and from the locally available materials. So there was no issues of the plants selections. There's
Okay.
more than that. So
Okay.
wasn't an issue. Yeah.
Yes. So
But
thank you, Kalyan.
you know, to be honest, like they're ahead of any of Southeast Asian country regarding the natural propagations,
Mm-hmm.
using the natural resources because they don't have any other options. So they have to use the natural resources. So they are way ahead of any other country where I seen how much they
Mm-hmm.
utilize the natural resources. You can see in terms of plants, in terms of like vegetations, fodders, or like agriculture products,
Mm-hmm.
anything, you name it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good insight from your experience. As they said, is it necessity is the mother of innovation? Is it how that saying goes? But anyway, we've gone over time. You're very
Okay.
passionate about this topic. I can see that, and we still have a lot of questions unanswered. So what we will do is that we will get these questions, and Kalyan is more than willing to answer them through email, and we'll get back to you. Thank you everyone for joining and staying. For those who've stayed over time, thank you so much. We still have 85 people in the chat.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you everyone, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you, Kalyan, for your time,
Thank
and
you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for giving this
thank you.
opportunity.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.